Greetings, philosophers. We're now at episode 4 of our 5-part series on Friedrich Nietzsche's Homer and Classical Philology, the audacious and groundbreaking lecture he gave in 1869 at the University of Basel. Last time, we explored Nietzsche's bold vision for a new philology, one that doesn't just dissect ancient texts, but uses them to breathe life into modern culture. Today, we're zeroing in on one of Nietzsche's favourite ideas, the power of myth. Why does he see Homer, the poet behind the Iliad and Odyssey, as a myth-maker extraordinaire, and what does that mean for us today? Let's get swept up in Nietzsche's world and find out. It's 1869, and Nietzsche, the 24-year-old prodigy, is pacing the stage, his eyes blazing with ideas. He's not just waxing eloquently about ancient poetry. He's talking about Homer as a force of nature, a creator of myths that shaped the ancient Greeks' entire worldview. For Nietzsche, myths aren't just fairy tales or bedtime stories. They're the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the world, to give life meaning, to bind us together. And Homer's epics? They're the gold standard of myth-making. Stories so powerful they defined a civilization. Nietzsche's obsessed with this, and in this lecture he's urging his fellow philologists to stop fussing over historical details and embrace the mythic energy of Homer's work. Let's begin with what Nietzsche means by myth. Think of myths as the big stories that hold a culture together, like the way a great novel or movie can capture what a generation feels. For the Greeks, the Iliad and Odyssey weren't just entertainment, they were a shared language. These epics told of Achilles' rage, Odysseus' cunning, gods meddling in human affairs, and they gave the Greeks a way to understand heroism, fate, and their place in the cosmos. Nietzsche sees Homer as a kind of cultural architect, building a world where people could find meaning through these larger-than-life tales. It's like how Star Wars or The Lord of the Rings relates to some deep intuition in the psyche and gives us heroes and villains we can all relate to, except Homer's stories were the backbone of an entire civilization. Now, Nietzsche's got a bone to pick with his fellow philologists. He thinks they're so busy arguing over who wrote the epics. Was it one Homer? Many Homers? A committee of bards? That they're missing the point. To him, the historical details are secondary. What matters is the mythic power of these stories, the way they lit a fire under the Greeks. He's got this great line, well, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like, Homer's poetry is not a historical document, but a living voice. He's saying, don't treat the Iliad like a history textbook. It's more like a symphony, meant to move you, to make you feel the pulse of what made the Greeks so extraordinary. This is where Nietzsche gets really interesting, because he's not just talking about ancient Greece. He's looking at his own time, 19th century Germany. The world around him is changing fast. Factories are popping up. Science is king, and people are starting to question old beliefs. Nietzsche worries that modern culture is losing its myths, its big stories. Without them, he thinks we're left adrift, with nothing to inspire us or hold us together. It's like living in a world of spreadsheets and no poetry. For Nietzsche, studying Homer isn't about solving a puzzle. It's about rediscovering that mythic spark, something to counter the cold, mechanical feel of technological modernity. This idea of myth versus history is central to the lecture. Nietzsche's not against history. He's a scholar, after all, but he thinks philology's obsession with pinning down facts, like who wrote what line when, is killing the spirit of the epics. It's like analysing a Michelangelo sculpture by measuring its dimensions instead of marvelling at its beauty. Nietzsche wants philologists to tap into the mythic energy of Homer, to ask, what made these stories so powerful? How did they shape the Greeks? And how can we use that to inspire our own culture? He's almost pleading with his audience to see the past not as a collection of facts, but as a source of life. You can hear echoes of the Romantic thinkers in this. People like Schiller, who believed art and imagination could heal a fractured world. But Nietzsche's got his own twist. He's not a dreamy poet waxing nostalgic. He's all about vitality, energy, the raw power of human creativity. For him, Homer's myths aren't just pretty stories. They're a call to live boldly, to create something great. This is a young Nietzsche starting to flex the muscles he'll use in later works, like The Birth of Tragedy, where he argues that art and myth are what save us from despair. Already in this lecture, he's laying the groundwork for those big ideas. Zooming out. Nietzsche's love for myth feels so relevant in our world of endless information and social media noise. We're bombarded with facts, data, hot takes, but where are the stories that unify us? Where's our Iliad? Think about how we turn to movies, music, or even video games to find meaning, to feel part of something bigger. Nietzsche would get that. He'd probably say, we need new myths, or at least a way to reconnect with the old ones, to give us purpose in a world that can feel like it's spinning out of control. But Nietzsche's not just preaching about myth. He's challenging his field to step up. He wants philologists to be more than scholars. He wants them to be cultural warriors, using the past to inspire the present. It's a tall order, and you can imagine his audience. Some intrigued, some raising an eyebrow at this young hotshot. He's not saying throw out the history books, but he's asking for balance. Study the texts, sure, but don't forget why they matter. It's a message that hits hard today, when the humanities are often stuck justifying their existence in a world obsessed with STEM. As we wind down, let's sit with Nietzsche's passion for myth. He sees Homer as a reminder that humans can create stories that outlast empires, stories that give us meaning. What would it look like for us to embrace that today, to find or create myths that inspire us? Next episode, we'll wrap up our series by looking at the legacy of Nietzsche's lecture and why it still matters. If you're loving this journey through Nietzsche's mind, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us for episode 5. See you next time.